Sorry. Good afternoon or good evening, radio fans. Big Al back on this Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, and welcome back to another look at radio ratings from select markets from across the country. And in this installment, we'll be taking a look at Portland, Oregon, St. Louis, Missouri, and San Antonio, Texas. So with that, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and get notified every time I go live. And here we go. Starting off with market number 23, which is Portland, Oregon. All right. And leading the rate in the Rose City still is iHeartRadio's adult contemporary station, K103 KKCW, which jumped nearly a whole point from 8.9 to 9.8 with a cumulative audience of 565,700. They did expand their lead over their second place competitor, which is iHeartRadio's classic hits station, 106.7 The Eagle, KLTH. They're up from 8.3, or rather 8.6 to 9.3, and a cumulative audience of 485,900. And then the two classic rock stations take third and fourth. iHeart Classic Rocker 105.9 The Brew, KFBW, is up from 6.8 to 6.9 with a cumulative audience of 310,500. And that's followed by their rivals from Odyssey, 92.3 KGON, which is up from 5.6 to 6.8. And that's their highest rating of the year so far. Cumulative audience is 382,700. In fifth place is Connoisseur Media's AAA station, 101.9 KINK, dropping from a 6.3 to a 5.6 with a cumulative audience of 316,200. In sixth place is Oregon Public Broadcasting's flagship NPR news station, KOPB 91.5. They took a steep drop from 6.7 to 5.3 with a cumulative audience of 160,500. Seventh place is Connoisseur Media News Talker FM News 101 KXL FM, down from 4.9 to 4.8 with a cumulative audience of 188,500. Coming in eighth place is iHeartRadio's top 40 station, Z100 KKRZ. Now this is the Portland version of V100, not the New York version. They're up from 3.7 to 4.3 with a cumulative audience of 362,300. Ninth place is All Classical Public Media's All Classical Radio KOAC FM, jumping up more than a point from 3.0 to 4.1. So they're kind of seesawing up and down, but they're back up again. They have a cumulative audience of 178,600. This ties them with Connoisseur Media Country Station at 98.7 The Bull, KUPL, up from 3.6 to 4.1, and a cumulative audience of 250,400. So there's your top 10 in Portland. In 11th place is their country competitor, Odyssey's 99.5 The Wolf, KWJJ FM, which is down from 4.3 to 3.5. with a cumulative audience of 218,800. In 12th place is their sister adult hit station, 97.1 Charlie FM, KYCH FM, down from 3.3 to 3.2, with a cumulative audience of 345,800. Tied for 13th are Connoisseur Media's top 40 station, Live 95.5 KBFF, and iHeartMedia's hip-hop station, Jammin' 107.5 KXJM, Live 95.5 is down from 3.0 to 2.8 with a cumulative audience of 269,900. Hey, what's poppin', Joey? Meanwhile, Jammin' 97 or Jammin' 107.5, I should say, is up from 2.5 to 2.8. Cumulative audience of 247,600. So those two stations are tied for 13th. In 15th place is Odyssey Alternative Station 94.7 FM KNRK, up from 2.2 to 2.6, cumulative audience of 240,000. Below them is their sister sports station, just recently switched to a sports format, 105.1 The Fan KRSK FM, up from 2.4 to 2.5, with a cumulative audience of 280,900. Now, this was the former Bella 105 with a hot AC format. '17th place is iHeartRadio's news talk station, News Radio 1190 KEX, down from 3.2 to 2.3, with a cumulative audience of 78,700. This ties them with Salem Media's regional Mexican station, 93.1 El Rey, which is KRYP. They're up from 2.2 to 2.3 with a cumulative audience of 86,300. So those two stations are tied for 17th place. Then you have Odyssey Sports Station 105.1 The Fan, which is also heard on KFXX 1080. They're down from the AM station is down from 2.1 to 2.0 with a cumulative audience of 62,100, which would put them 19th place. In 20th, you have Mount Hood Community College Jazz Station 89.1 KMHD, which is also down from 1.9 to 1.6. with a cumulative audience of 98,700. And that's enough to break into the top 20. And then you have two more stations tied with each other, including KBOO Foundation variety station KBOO 90.7, which is of course KBOO FM, and Connoisseur Media's conservative talker, Freedom 970, KUFO. Both rose to a 0.9. KBOO is up from 0.6 with a cumulative audience of 48,300, while Freedom 970 is up from 0.8 to 0.9 with a cumulative audience of 25,700. The local K-Love station in Portland is KLVP 97.9 from EMF. They're up from 0.5 to 0.8 with a cumulative audience of 59,800. That's followed by the online stream of KOPB 91.5, which is the local NPR news station in Portland. They're up from 0.4 to 0.6 with a cumulative audience of 18,200. All right, and then K-Love's sister network, Air One, heard in the Portland area on 104.1 KPOZ, is down from 0.7 to 0.6 with a cumulative audience of 63,700. They are tied with Connoisseur Sports Station 750 The Game, KXTG, which follows suit, falling from 0.7 to 0.6. And they have a cumulative audience which is less than half lower at 31,600. I don't even know why I just said. All right, iHeartMedia alternative station Alt 102.3 heard on KR or KKRZ HD2 is down from 0.8 to 0.5 with a cumulative audience of 85,300. Connoisseur Media's hip-hop station, We 102.9, heard on KINK HD2, holds steady at 0.4 with a cumulative audience of 61,000. Then you have Salem Media Conservative Talker AM 860 The Answer KPAM, up from 0.2 to 0.3, cumulative audience of 20,200. Below them is their sister religious talk station 93.9 KPDQ FM, down from 0.6 to 0.3, cumulative audience of 11,900. Tying them with iHeartRadio sports station Rip City Radio 620 KPOJ. This is the Portland Trailblazers flagship station. They're also down from 0.6 to 0.3, cumulative audience of 18,900. So The Answer, KPDQ FM, and Rip City Radio are all tied in the ratings. Then you have the online stream of 89.1 KMHD, up to a 0.2 and a cumulative audience of 9,900. Followed then the online stream of 105.1 The Fan. This is the AM station KFXX. They're at a 0.1 with a cumulative audience of 5,600. Its sister sports station 910 ESPN Portland KMTT is down from 0.2 to 0.1 with a cumulative audience of 7,500. Next is the online stream of 94.7 FM, down from 0.2 to 0.1 with a cumulative audience of 5,000. And then iHeartMedia's Pride Radio, heard on KXJM HD2, is at a 0.1 once again, cumulative audience of 3,700. Then you got the online stream of 97.1 Charlie FM, which registered at 0.1 with a cumulative audience of 7,300. The online stream of 92.3 KGON did not register, and they have a cumulative audience, strangely, of 0. KNRK2, which is classic alternative, they didn't register at all with a cumulative audience of 1,700. And KWJJ's online stream of 99.5 The Wolf also didn't register, and they had a cumulative audience of 2,900. Now, KRSK, this is 105.1 FM, began simulcasting the sports format on KFXX 1080 back on July 22nd. So this is the first full book for 105.1 as a sports station. All right. On to market number 24, the St. Louis, Missouri market. And still the kings of the gateway to the west is Hubbard Broadcasting's classic rocker, KSHE 95, KSHE FM. They did drop a little bit though, from 9.5 to 9.0, but still leads the market, and a cumulative audience of 518,400. That's followed by iHeartMedia's classic hits station 103.3 KLOU, down from 9.2 to 8.7, cumulative audience of 649,100. In third place is Hubbard Broadcasting's adult hits station 106.5 The Arch, WARH, up from 6.8 to 7.1, cumulative audience of 516,300. Coming in fourth place is Gateway Creative Broadcasting's contemporary Christian station 99.1 Joy FM, KLJY. They're down from 6.8 to 6.2 with a cumulative audience of 305,400. In fifth place, you have Odyssey's adult contemporary station 102.5 KEZK, up from 5.5 to 6.0. Cumulative audience of 576,600. Next up is the local NPR news station in St. Louis, and that's 90.7 KWMU from the University of Missouri, St. Louis. They are up half a point from 4.8 to 5.3 with a cumulative audience of 179,000. And this ties them for 6th place with Odyssey's Urban Adult Contemporary station 96.3 R&B WFUN, down from a 5.4 to a 5.3, and a cumulative audience of 257,600. In 8th place is iHeart Country Station 93.7 The Bull KSD FM, up from 4.8 to 5.0, cumulative audience of 345,100. Ninth place is Hubbard's alternative and active rock hybrid 105.7 The Point KPNT, dropping from 5.2 to 4.8 with a cumulative audience of 323,400. Rounding out the top 10 is Odyssey News Talker and St. Louis Cardinals flagship KMOX, heard on 104.1 FM and 1120 AM. They are down from 4.7 to 4.5 with a cumulative audience of 252,100. Outside the top 10, you have Hubbard Classics, or rather Hubbard Country Station 92.3 WIL, up from 4.3 to 4.4 with a cumulative audience of 324,100. Next, in 12th place is Odyssey's Hot AC Station Y98 KYKY FM, up from 3.8 to 4.2, cumulative audience of 368,300. Coming in at number 13 is iHeartRadio Top 40 Station Z1077 KSLZ, falling from 4.2 to 4.0, and a cumulative audience of 327,300. In 14th place is Hubbard Sports Station and St. Louis Blues flagship 101 ESPN WXOS, down from a 3.5 to a 3.2, with a cumulative audience of 151,200. Next is iHeartMedia's hip-hop station 100.3 The Beat KATZ FM, steady at a 2.9, cumulative audience of 162,500. Gateway Creative Broadcasting's classic hip-hop station Boost 95.5 KXBS is up from 1.8 to 2.3, and a cumulative audience of 139,400. That's followed by Odyssey Conservative Talker 97.1 FM Talk KFTK, up from 1.5 to 1.8, cumulative audience of 76,100. That's followed by rival conservative talker iHeartMedia's 104.9 The Patriot KTLK FM, up from 1.4 to 1.7, with a cumulative audience of 66,100. The online stream of KMOX AM and FM is next up, moving from 1.4 to 1.5, cumulative audience of 40,400. Then you have iHeartRadio Gospel Station Hallelujah 1600 KATZ, slipping from a 1.3 down to a 1.1, cumulative audience of 36,400. Next is R&B and Jazz Station 88.7 The Sound WSIE, owned by Southern Illinois University, which is located in Carbondale, Illinois. They're up from 0.9 to 1.1, tying with Hallelujah FM. The Sound has a cumulative audience of 51,800. Then you have the jazz format heard on KWMU HD2, which is up from 0.2 to 0.5, with a cumulative audience of 12,700. Odyssey Hip Hop Station Hot 98.7, heard on KEZK HD2, And a St. Louis translator at 98.7 FM, steady at a 0.4. Cumulative audience of 41,100. Next is BIN 103.7 from KATZ FM HD2 and a St. Louis area translator at 103.7. They're up slightly from 0.1 to 0.2 with a cumulative audience of 14,400. That's followed by the FM stream of 97.1 FM Talk, also at a 0.2 with a cumulative audience of 5,400. KSHE Classics, which plays classic rock on KSHE HD2, is steady at a 0.2 as well. Cumulative audience of 29,900. Next is Gateway Creative Broadcasting's Foxy 106.9, which is an urban oldies station heard on KXBS HD3. They were down from 0.3 to 0.2. Cumulative audience of 26,900. And then that's followed by the FM stream of Y98 up to a 0.2 with a cumulative audience of 12,400. And the online stream of 102.5 KEZK at a 0.1 with a cumulative audience of 8,200. iHeartMedia's Pride Radio, heard on KSLZ HD2, is steady at a 0.1 with a cumulative audience of 17,500. The Urban AC format of iHeartMedia's Magic, heard on KTLK HD2, registers for the second time in 3 months at 0.1, cumulative audience of 5,600. Not registering in the St. Louis market is both classical stations, in fact. The classical format on KWMU HD3 with a cumulative audience of 4,400, as well as Classic 107.3 heard on WFUN HD2 and a cumulative audience of 0. Neither station registered, nor did the online stream of 96.3 R&B. On March 24th, KMOX began simulcasting on 104.1, while the Hot 104.1 format and brand moved to KEZK HD2 and a St. Louis translator at 98.7. Alright, we'll wrap up this video with the San Antonio, Texas radio market. This is number 25 in the country. And back on top is Cox Media Group's Hot AC station, Hits 105.3 KSMG, up from 6.6 to 7.5. Cumulative audience is 343,900. Its sister classic hits station, Kono 1011 KONO FM, is down from 6.9 to 6.7, so they fall to second place. Cumulative audience 535,600. And the good times keep rolling for Cox Media Group because the third place station is another Cox property, and that's Country Station Y100, up from 5.2 to 6.3, with a cumulative audience of 403,500. And then San Antonio's market leader in June took a big fall in July, and that is their rock station 99.5 KISS, KISS FM, plummeting from 8.4 down to 5.9, and a cumulative audience of 332,800. Ouch. That ties them for fourth place with EMF's K-Love, heard in San Antonio on KZLV 91.3. They jumped from a 4.5 to a 5.9 with a cumulative audience of 185,400. In 6th place is iHeart Country Station, KJ97, KAJA, down from 5.4 to 5.2. Cumulative audience of 299,100. Followed in 7th place by Televisa Univision's regional Mexican station, Que Buena 92.9 KROM. They are down from 5.7 to 5.0. With a cumulative audience of 132,600. This puts them in a three-way tie for 7th place in San Antonio, alongside NPR station 89.1 KSTX from San Antonio-based Texas Public Media, and Cox Media Group's classic rocker 106.7 The Eagle, KTKX. KSTX is up from 4.3 to 5.0 with a cumulative audience of 130,000, while the Eagle takes a dramatic drop from 6.1 to 5.0, cumulative audience of 308,100. So all three of those stations are tied for 7th place. Rounding out the top 10 is Televisa Univision's classic hip-hop station, Vibe 107.5 KVBH, up from 2.8 to 3.3 with a cumulative audience of 248,600. Spots 11 and 12 are both held by Connoisseur Media stations. 11th place is 102.7 Jack FM, which is now San Antonio's 102.7 KJXK, down from 3.4 to 3.2 with a cumulative audience of 303,600, and their sister news talk station, News Talk 550 KTSA, which is also heard on a San Antonio translator at 107.1. They're up a full point from 2.0 to 3.0. Cumulative audience of 112,100. Alright. EMF's Air 1 on KZAR 97.7 is up from 1.7 to 2.9 with a cumulative audience of 84,700, and that ties them with iHeartMedia's news talk station and company flagship News Radio 1200 WOAI, down from a 3.0 to 2.9 with a cumulative audience of 131,000. And this, of course, is the San Antonio Spurs flagship station. Next is Televisa Univision's hip-hop station at 98.5 The Beat KBBT, up from 2.4 to 2.8, with a cumulative audience of 244,500. And then you have a three-way tie between three iHeart radio stations. Their adult contemporary station Q1019 KQXT, they have fallen on hard times over the past few months. Their sister bilingual AC station Mix 96.1 KXXM, and their Spanish Top 40 station 104.5 Latino Hits, which is KZEP-FM, all sit at 2.3. The struggle is real for Q1019 as they fall from 3.6 down to 2.3, and a cumulative audience of 238,400. Mix 96.1 is up from 2.1 to 2.3 with a cumulative audience of 235,100. And 104.5 Latino Hits is also up from 2.0 to 2.3. Cumulative audience of 179,400. Next up, Connoisseur Media's regional Mexican simulcast of Norteno 104.1 and 720 which is heard on KSAH FM 104.1 and KSAH AM 720. They're up from 2.0 to 2.1 with a cumulative audience of 91,900. That's followed by Televisa Univision's Spanish adult contemporary station, Amor 95.1 KMYO, dropping from a 2.5 to a 1.8 with a cumulative audience of 144,400, tying them with Texas Public Radio's classical station, KPAC 88.3, up from 1.7 to 1.8 with a cumulative audience of 70,000. The regional Mexican format of La Preciosa 105.7, which is heard on iHeartMedia's KQXT HD3, is up from 0.5 to 0.9. Cumulative audience of 43,500. Next is Connoisseur Media's Tejano 95.7 KLEY, down from a 1.2 to a 0.8. Cumulative audience is 75,600. And then EMF's other Air One station in the San Antonio area on 103.7 KZAI is down from 0.9 to 0.7 with a cumulative audience of 60,000. Now, this used to be a Corpus Christi station until they moved the signal into San Antonio a few years ago. Next is Cox Media Group's classic country station, Country Legends 680 KKYX, down from 0.7 to 0.6 with a cumulative audience of 66,600. Then iHeartRadio's classic country combatant 92.5 and 93.3 The Bull, heard on KRPT 92.5 as well as KZEP HD3, and on an FM translator in San Antonio at 93.3, is steady at a 0.6. Cumulative audience of 73,600. And then their sister sports station, Ticket 760 KTKR, is up from 0.5 to 0.6. Cumulative audience of 34,100. Its rival sports station, Connoisseur's Sports Star 94.1 KTFM, is steady at a 0.5. Cumulative audience of 52,800. Then you have the online stream of 106.7 The Eagle, up to a 0.5 with a cumulative audience of 17,300. And the online stream of Y100, up to a 0.3 with a cumulative audience of 12,700. Connoisseur's hip hop station, We 94.5 KTFM HD2, also on a San Antonio translator at 94.5. They're steady at 0.3. Cumulative audience of 35,500. And then you have the online streams of Country Legends 680, Kono 1011, and Hits 105.3, all sitting at a 0.2. Cumulative audience for the Country Legends stream is 6,500. While for the Kono 1011 stream, it's 20,800. And for the Hits 105.3 stream, it's 12,900. EMF's 103.1 KZKV, currently airing the K-Love format to the southern portions of San Antonio, registers at a 0.2 with a cumulative audience of 8,400. That's followed by the online streams of both 102.7 Jack FM and Tejano 95.7, both coming in at a 0.1. And their sister sports station, ESPN 1250 and 103.3, which is KZDC 1250, and an FM translator in San Antonio at 103.3. They hold steady at a 0.1. cumulative audience of 10,500. Not registering is the online stream of 99.5 Kiss with a cumulative audience of 4,000. EMF's 106.3 K-Love KMLR up in Gonzales with a cumulative audience of 1,000. Cox Media Group's KONO AM Business News 860 with a cumulative audience of 2,900. Smooth Jazz San Antonio heard on KQXT HD2 with a cumulative audience of 0. Televisa Univision's KXTN 1350, which plays Tejano, and a cumulative audience of 7,800. And KZEP, which plays classic rock on KZEP HD2, with a cumulative audience of 600. Those stations and the one stream did not register in San Antonio's book for the month of July. Alright, that is it for this edition of Radio Ratings from across the country as we looked at Portland, St. Louis, and San Antonio for the month of July. In our next installment, we'll look at 3 markets that I didn't have time to do last month, but I finally do have the time for this month. We'll be looking at Salt Lake City, Austin, and the Inland Empire of Riverside, San Bernardino. So join me for that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and happy listening. Peace out.